me check. I'm just checking. Today is March 14th, 2007. Recorded history of Alan Nielson. Today's date is March 14th, 2007. And Dad, first let's start with the demographic information. Give us your full name, your birthday. Go ahead.
Alan Scott Nielson, and I haven't been a criminal very long. I was born March the 11th, 1940.
Okay, your parents' names?
Oh, Eleanor Jane Ashby Nielson was my mother.
Her birthday?
And her birthday is September the 15th, 1900.
And your dad?
And Dad was Laclede or Clede Nielson, and he was born on February 28th, 1896.
Okay. We want to start with some of the more important events. Tell us about where you grew up, and what kind of area it was, and.
Well, I grew up in Lindell, but I was born when they still at Taylor's Flat, so I don't remember that first year too well.
Okay, and do you remember your first? What was your first memory of school? How old were you when you started going to school?
Well, I went to kindergarten. I think I was 6. We're under bomb attack. Just about the end of my history. Well, I went to school at Lindell. There was a schoolhouse in Lindell, and as I remember, my first teacher was Christine Pendry, and I didn't want to be. Well, I did to begin with. I didn't want to be the troll under the bridge, but then I kind of liked that job after they give it to me all the time.
What do you mean, the troll under the bridge?
Was that what you kids would play?
Yeah,
out on the
we
playground?
played troll, and the troll was under the bridge, and he was a mean guy.
And that was you?
Yeah, I got to be that quite often. I think
Either that or you were the baby, huh?
Oh no, that's when I was playing with the girls. We played cowboys and Indians, and we was all cowboys, of course. And Jim McCarthy, and he'd go be coming through the walls, or highway or one or the other here. That was pretty close.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jim McCardle always got to be Roy Rogers, and then some of the other kids that was more popular got to be Gene Autry and Hopalong Cassidy and all them, and then Roy Rogers was married to Dale Evans, and Dale Evans, it turned out that I got to be the baby most of the time.
So that
scared you out of the
yeah,
trees.
we were all scared of the lightning and thunder. Okay, so you went to all of elementary school in Lindell, or?
Yeah.
And then after elementary school, when did you start going to Delta?
Oh, we didn't go there until we were 7th graders. Went to high school when I was in 7th grade. That was the only thing they had. They didn't have junior high in them days, so. Actually, I went to the high school, and then next year they started junior high, and so I went 8th grade into junior high.
And what kind of student were you in elementary and in high school?
Well, I got satisfactory on most everything. Occasionally I got an unsatisfactory, but not too many.
But I mean, were you
in
good
grade
grades,
school,
or
huh?
Was that your conduct or your?
Yeah,
grade?
well, my grade was a little better than my conduct a lot of times in grade school, but I did good and pretty good in high school.
And what kind of activities were you involved in high school?
Oh, I did athletics and
Well, what athletics?
football and wrestling.
Were you good?
Well, I was All-State, second team All-State in football. Learned later that because my my iron in my blood was low, that I think I'd have done a lot better in wrestling and other sports. I ran out of wind in a hurry because your iron makes a lot of difference on how much oxygen you get into your lungs.
And so, and what you do in the summer times when you weren't in school?
Oh, the summer, winter, and everything else, we had to farm and worked chores and everything. I had to do my chores night and day, whether I come home midnight after practice or when. Them chores are still waiting.
What were your chores?
We milked the cow. Let's see, to begin with, we milked 3 cows, 3 or 4 cows. Actually, Dad sold milk to the beanery there when I was real young. One of my, let's see, probably the earliest memory that I've really got was that when Dean got killed in the war, 1945,
How old were
that
you?
I can remember well. I was 5 years old.
And what do you remember about that?
Mom was out in the back there crying, and she was looking for Dad. They'd got word that Dean had been killed, or was missing in action, really, but she'd had a dream or a vision or something that he had come home. It was in June, early June or late May. He was actually killed on the 18th of May in Okinawa. The door blew open in the middle of the night, the day that he was killed, or the time he was killed, and she woke up saying to Dad that Dean's come home. So Dad told her she didn't think she was right, she shouldn't be saying that, but anyway, a few days later they got a thing saying, 10 days, 15 days later, they got a notice from the government saying he was missing in action. Found out a little bit after that he'd actually been killed.
What are your memories of your brothers? Tell us the names of your brothers and...
Oh, that was right. I guess the earlier one was Dean. He was quite the kidder. He had a mouse that he gave me to take to Mom. They was cleaning rabbit pens, and there was a lot of mice around the rabbit pens. And he handed me this mouse by the tail, and he knew I'd scare the heck out of Mom and Carmen with that mouse. So I took it down there and threw it in the well. They started screaming when they seen the mouse. So I just tossed it down in the washroom in the basement, and that's where they was at. And the mouse got real scared and bit Mom on the toe.
Ew. So it was alive.
Oh yeah, it was alive.
Well, tell me the names of your brothers in order of birth.
Howard Nielson, Howard G. Nielson, and Bill C. Nielson, and then Carmen, had a middle initial, I don't remember. And then, let's see, there was Dean, and then Dean O. Nielson, then Bob, Robert, and then Merrill, and then me.
How old
7
was
of
Merrill when you were born?
He was about, let's see, he would have been 5 years old at the time I was born.
How old was your mom when you were born?
I was born in 40, so she was 40 years old, I guess.
Okay.
She was born in 1900, yeah.
Okay. And what are some of your earliest memories of your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, maybe visits, holidays, their home? What was their home like?
Oh, my mom and dad lived right there where Merrill lives now, in Lingle, from all I can remember. They lived, when I was born, they lived out across the river to Taylor Flat, and then they moved Dad lost the farm out there during the Depression. And so they moved in 1940. They moved into Lindell, and we lived there all the time that I was growing up. Grandma and them lived in Leamington, both grandmas.
And tell us about your mother. What her personality, her characteristics? What did she look like, and what kind of temperament did she have?
Well, Mom was, she was real nice. She, people in that day and age weren't very tolerant though of kids. You ate everything that you put in front of you, or you didn't take it, or else. And Mom, she was Sunday school. Well, actually, she was junior Sunday school coordinator or president or whatever they were at that time. I can't remember exactly, but she was also played the piano, and she was the pianist for the junior Sunday school for years and years and years. Actually, I think you was teaching a class, weren't you, during the time?
I think so. Did you learn a musical instrument?
Huh?
Did you learn a musical instrument?
No, they gave up on me when I pulled the ivory off the keys with my teeth. So I'd had enough lessons.
So what kind of, tell us about your father. What kind of...
He was a farmer. He'd been in First World War. He went to France, but he got there, actually got up to the headlines on the day before the armistice was signed. So he didn't get into the battle. But he was married to Mom about 2 months or so before he went over to France. And then he came back and started farming out of Taylor Flat.
But what kind of, I mean, what kind of temperament did he have? Did he play with the kids? Did he?
Nah, nobody played with the kids much in them days. Their parents, at least, no, it was all work. Whatever you did was work one way or the other. He was pretty insistent that we do our chores.
And if you could summarize, like, the child-rearing philosophy of your parents, what was their kind of philosophy about raising kids?
Well, the main thing was that you taught them how to work, and he stressed education, so did Mom. They were real heavy on getting a good education in life and going to church. Not too much. He wasn't really too big on it. Well, we went to church, but he didn't discuss it too much with us.
You didn't do family home evening and
Not in
family
that day.
scripture study?
They figured you had family home evening every night, which is about the truth. We didn't have TV. We had, actually, I can remember radio being a big thing in that time for quite a while. 1952, when we got our first TV, which was, well, probably about the 4th or 5th TV in all of town, all of Lindell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Jerry, I think. Uncle Jerry got the first one. Oh, no, the first one Harry McCarter got because he was selling them. And then old Jerry got the second one, and Dad, and I think he was third or fourth. It might have been somebody else. An old Dumont TV. They were the ones that chipped old Farnsworth out of his patent.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about some of the special teachers that you had in school that you remember, or special friends that who you had in school.
Well, we had quite a little clique. We played baseball in the summer, and when we wasn't working, couldn't get interfered too much with our work, that's for sure. But there was a lot of kids in Lindell that played baseball, and then after that it was church softball we went into. But we were champions most years. Lindell beat the other guys in even all the Delta wards. Usually wound up the game between Sutherland and Lindell for the championship. One year we was champions in our area, and so then my uncle, Viv Wade over to Fillmore, he proposed and got us to go into this big game with the winners over there. Can't even remember which ward it was, one of the Fillmore wards. And he was so sure he even made a bet with Dad how much that they'd beat us. Can't remember how much they bet on it. Oh, it was a steak dinner, that's right. Anyway, we beat them guys pretty easy. Kind of fun. It was over at their fair day. They had days 47, and that used to be the capital. And so they always had a commemorative celebration in the summer on the days that they arrived in Fillmore. I can't remember exactly when it was. They had races, horse races, and a lot of things going on.
Okay, well, what were some of your favorite songs and movies from
I never got into
fads?
I never got into songs very much, except as I got older. I can remember when I first started to notice music very much. It was when I was, Merrill was big into songs, and I was in the early 50s. I mean, they had some good songs in the 50s.
Name them. What were some of your favorites?
Oh, my darling Clementine.
Not from the 50s, is it?
Yeah.
I thought that was older than that.
Yeah, it might have been older, but that's one of them that was recorded new at that time. It was recorded. Let's see. What's the one that I was thinking of about the tree? I don't remember what. Something about a tree. It was nothing so beautiful as a tree. And then one that was really a tearjerker after the Second World War and all that carnage was that it's a patriotic song. Can't remember the title of it, but it kind of reminds me of Dean. He's
The Green Beret?
no, that was sometime after. That's Vietnam War. The Green Berets. No, it was. Shoot, can't think of it right now.
Well, maybe when you think of it, you can say it. Did you have any jobs besides, like, did your dad pay you to work on the farm, or did you have any jobs that you were paid for? Or?
No, the first money I ever got was from stock show calves. We'd raise some. Me and Merrill would raise stock show calves, and then we'd take them to the stock show, and whatever money we got off of them, we got to keep. And always had a bank account after we started that stock show deal. First that you could do that was about 12 years old when we first joined up in 4-H.
Okay. What was your family life? What kind of, how would you describe your family financially? Middle class, upper class, poor?
Well, we kind of thought of ourselves as kind of poor. We did have, it's kind of, it's hard to tell on farmers. They live poor and die rich usually. But anyway, Dad, he had the farm. We had several farms around. Never did have a lot of money, except in the early 50s there, during the good Democratic days when Roosevelt was president. Why, farmers was all doing good. Right after the war, where the economy boomed for everybody, really. But anyway, the big thing then was alfalfa seed, and I remember that one year we drilled a well, paid for the whole well in 1 year, with off the alfalfa seed profits.
Wow. What were some of the challenges that your family had, like sicknesses or accidents or death of loved ones? I know the death of Dean.
Yeah, it was a big deal, but we had a lot of ordinary sicknesses. Mainly the sicknesses that I was always coming down with was strep throat. Another thing, probably because of lack of iron. But it was cold, 48 that year. when I was 8 years old, in 48 and 49, we had the worst winter we'd ever had. We had snow drift 12 feet high, it covered the telephone wires. It was a mean year. Couldn't get to school. They had these old Army surplus caterpillars, crawlers that they used to get us trail up to the school, and then the wind would blow the trail shut in the night. The wind didn't have hardly any water in the snow. The snow was real dry. It just blew around every night, and then when it melted, the ground was blowing dust the next day.
Okay. What were some of your dreams when you were a young or a teenager? What were some of the dreams you had for your life, or goals? Or?
Oh, I always wanted to be rich. I never really wanted to be a cowboy. I mean, that was part of a rancher's life, was having cows and that. But I was just telling Sandy the other day, my thought of being, what I wanted to be was a cow or ranch owner, manager. That was always my idea. Something to be. I didn't have too many aspirations to be some businessman or some other business. Just a ranch owner.
You achieved your goal, would you say? You...
Well, I found out that was kind of hard to make money at too.
Okay, tell me about some of your friends in high school. Give me their names and some of your memories of them. And did you get into trouble with your friends?
Well, a lot of our friends, you know, went right along with us from grade school to high school, and we had the whole clique of kids in in grade school that pretty much the same ones that I knew in high school. Well, some of them were new, but there was Jim McCardle and Bob McCardle, and the Vest, Bob and Gene and Norman Vest, and then my best friend and buddy of all of the kids I went to school with was Wardell Nielson. He was Jerry's son. He was my cousin, first cousin. He was a great guy. He had real bad asthma, though his health wasn't very good. And he always got chose last when we choose up sites and have ball games because he wasn't too athletic, mainly because of his asthma. He had terrible asthma. His mother and dad both smoked. I think that contributed pretty heavy to that. And then he has a brother, Eric. He was a little younger, but he was one of my good friends. Russell Greathouse, he was a little younger too. But in my class, there was Gene. What was his name? Gene. I was always scared of him. He was kind of the biggest, toughest kid in the class. And then there was an Ivy kid in there when we was in grade school. And in high school, I kind of fell into a different bunch. Dwayne Orton was a good friend of mine for years. We played football. He was right tackle and I was left guard. And Merrill Maxfield and old Butch Cassidy's relative, Don Parker. he was another one of my friends that I chummed around with quite a bit. He didn't play ball or anything, but
he was really Butch Cassidy's relative?
Yeah. Butch Cassidy's real name was Leroy Parker. Oh. And he was from, what the heck the name of that town over there? Up the Sevier River from Delta, or from us. Anyway, that's where Don was from, too. His parents, anyway, was originally from, oh gosh, it's over there where Merrill, my brother's wife's sister, lives, Ann. Keep trying to stay spring something, but it ain't. It's okay.
Pleasant Grove.
Huh?
Pleasant Grove? No.
No, it's up the river there above Richfield even a little. Or well, it's actually below Richfield a little bit, I guess.
Okay.
No, it's above Richfield. That's where he was from. Leroy Parker.
Okay, well, what about like your social life in high school? Did you date? Did you
Well, we did a little dating. We didn't have any restrictions on dating much. And at first, we used to dance quite a bit in our school. We had dance classes in school. trying to learn the waltzes and things. We did learn the waltzes. We always had a Christmas program too. That was another big event we put on for the public.
In high school?
No, in grade school.
Oh.
But I think that we usually had a war dance about every week before TV came along and radio real heavy. And I don't remember that I ever asked any of them girls out, but I met a few of them there at the dance. Linda Mills and when we went into high school, we had quite a few. That was another one that got killed. Judy Turner was a real good friend of mine. I really liked her. She was real good looking. And she drowned out in the sinks when we were 14, I guess we were, the time she drowned.
Were you there?
Well, I'd been out there baling hay, me and Merrill and Dad, and, well, I guess it was me and Merrill and Bob, really. But we didn't know she was out there or anything. We moved out of there, but it wouldn't have made any difference. She didn't take very long to drown. Those girls went out there swimming, and her mother told her not to get in the boat. And so she stayed out of the boat, and she went out wading as far as she could, and it got up to about her nose, and then the wind started blowing and blowed the waves into her face, and she panicked and drowned. She was too far from the bank to get out. She couldn't swim. But I always thought if I'd been there, I'd have saved her.
Of course. Okay, well, what about, what were some of the news events when you were in, what were some of the important things happening in the world when you were in high school, when you were young? That maybe things that maybe affected your life, or?
Well, we were in the Korean War when I started high school, I guess. And then...
I thought that's the war that Uncle Dean died in.
No, Korean War was... Uncle Dean died in the Second World War.
Oh, okay.
He was killed on Okinawa when he was trying to take Japan over. That was the first actual property that that the Japanese homeland, that was part of the Japanese homeland. That was the first place that we ever fought them on their own. Well, at least troops. We bombed them before that. But anyway, no, the Korean War came after that in '51. And Bob was in the service then, but he didn't go to the Korean War. He got stationed in Wyoming. Other events, we was having them atomic tests. That should have been more of a signal than it was to us. We used to get up and watch the glow of the atomic bombs down in Nevada. Later found out that was a dangerous thing to have happen to you.
Yeah.
A lot of things was happening. There was a big uranium boom at that time. We was hunting uranium. Dad had a partnership here, and I still own an interest in that field. They bought a scintillator, mainly Spence Nielson's family, Gordon and Dick and Spence. And there was Dad and Phil and Howard. And then Bob, when he come from the service, he got all enthused about this prospecting, and so he bought a black light, I guess it was, and his contribution. I told Dad I wanted to be in it, but I was just still in high school, but he said that I could have his share, which is what I got.
Okay, now tell us about, I know you got married right out of high school. Tell about getting married and your early married life. And
Well, mine and Carol fell in love, and I guess about our senior year, between junior and senior. No, it was probably senior year.
And what attracted you to Mom?
Oh, she was very attractive. She was a drum majorette. First time I ever met up with her was in 7th grade when we went down there to school, and she was kind of floundering around, I guess you'd say, but I always thought she was cute, but somebody did a perm job on her. It was real kinky. And she was kind of being outrageous in them days. And she'd drawn too much attention to herself with that kinky hair. I remember one time I went home and told Dad and Mom I was